All right, appraisers, this is Brandon with Choice Valuation, and in this Spark Spotlight video, we're going to be covering how to use vacant land sales to help you with site value within Spark. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Now, as you can see, I've loaded up a cost approach here for my subject. So I went in, entered in the information, grabbed the cost data. Everything's basically filled out. I have my total number here, but as you can see, it does not yet include site value. I don't have a site value number here. So in this case, for this video, what we're going to do is we're going to assume you have some actual vacant land sales and you're going to use those within Spark to let Spark kind of give you the visual representation of the data to help you hopefully more easily decide on what you want to call your site value for your subject. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. So I've entered in my subject. Now I'm just going to click the site value tab, and then we're going to add in properties. And when I click that, I'm going to say enter property manually because we can't grab land value or sites, vacant land sales from the grid because those are just actual sales of SFR or condo properties. So I click enter property manually. First thing it says is it shows you the three different methods that Spark can use to help you with site value. And obviously for this video, we're going to be using vacant land sales. It says, do you have vacant land sales? You just click yes. And now it presents you with this screen where you can enter in the information. So I'm just going to assume here I've got a parcel number, and I'm just making up these numbers, by the way. Sale price of 110, site size, and I'm going to say nothing here. So comments or land features, this is basically just something for you to use however you want to. You don't have to fill it in at all, but it's just here to kind of help you note things that are, and this will go into your digital work file. Like if a particular sale maybe has superior views for whatever reason, or maybe it's on a big slope or whatever it happens to be, a hillside lot or whatever. It's just here for you to use however you want to. It doesn't affect any calculations or anything. And then when you're ready, or when you get to this area, you can hit enter and it will add another line. So I can just go in, add in another property, and we'll say this one has maybe a mountain view. And then I can hit enter again to add another line, or I'll just remove that property, or I can click the plus button, and that also adds another line. And so now I'll enter in just another random thing here, just pick a number, and we'll just leave that one blank, and now I hit done. So now what you're presented with is our vacant land sale widget here, and it basically shows you property one, property two, property three. So these are the sales that I entered in, and the blue dots are the actual site values, or these, in this case, sale prices that I entered in for those properties. And the red dots are, as you can see in the legend here, they are the adjusted site values. And what that means is we basically figured out the price per square foot, which for this property, as you can see in the tooltip, is $15.46 a square foot. And we multiply that by the subject site size to get us the adjusted site value for the subject. And so, like in this case, for example, the property is actually smaller. You can see the site size is 7113 square feet versus the subject is 7759. So the subject is slightly bigger, maybe, I don't know what that is, 8% larger site size. And so the site value is 110, but the adjusted site value is actually 120. And so the red dot is the adjusted, the blue dots are the unadjusted, just the raw sale prices. So now what you have, and by the way, you also have the averages and the medians and the regression data. And all regression means is we basically, now in this case, we only put in 3 properties. By the way, I didn't mention it yet, but Spark allows you to have up to 12 properties here for the site value widget. And so for regression, what it did is it plots these values on a chart with site size being the x-axis. It does this in the background, by the way. It plots those on a chart, and then it figures out the trend line for all those data points. In this case, it's only 3, and then that gives you basically a trend line. And when you hover over the regression dots here, then you can actually see the y equals mx plus b, the equation there. And all you do is you plug in the x, which is your subject site size, and that gives you the numbers that Spark presents you with. So in this case, it's 128,208 and 129,029. And those are those 2 dots right there. So you've got average, median, and simple regression run on the data points here. So now all you do is you use the slider bar to choose what you want to call the subject site value. Now in this case, if you remember, I'm going to hover over, you can see these are all pretty close. Property 1 and property 3, fairly close in here. We got a range from 116 to about 120. So, I mean, like 118 would be pretty much right dead in the middle. You can see this gray line goes right between those red dots. I prefer to kind of place more weight on the adjusted site values, but that's up to you how you want to do it. And then we have this one over here, which is maybe it's an outlier, or maybe there's something else going on. But if you remember, this one had a mountain view. And so if you see something that looks weird, as long as you use those comments correctly, and by that I mean this comment right here, then when you hover over that dot, Spark will show you the comment that you entered in. So in this case, I can see that that property has a mountain view, and so that probably explains why this one's so much higher than the other two. So I am going to place very little weight on that, most weight on these two, and I'm going to call it right in the middle, 118. There's my opinion of site value. Again, I can call it whatever I want in this range, or I can type in any random number I want into here. If I want to just say 50,000, it'll do 50,000, but I'm going to go ahead and go with the 118 here. Whoops. And then when you're all set, you can just click back to the cost approach, and you can now see 118 has been entered in for my site value. The total has adjusted upward to account for that, and it's now $250,000. And now you can go ahead and export and send this data off into your report, or you can move on and do, your market conditions analysis, go back to your grid if you want to, whatever you want to do, just you can do that next. And what I'm going to show you next is what Spark will actually put into your work file for these vacant land sales. So I pulled up that actual report. Now this is the report after Spark loaded in this information. So when I go over here to forms, you can see I've got my cost approach filled out. I've got my site value right there, everything's filled in. I have a comment saying I use vacant land sales, and then if I click on the work file tab, assuming you have total, you'll have this work file tab. Then you click on site value report, that's this PDF right here, and then it brings you this information. It shows you what you chose, what your subject site size is, the comment that it put into your report for that, and then also the actual vacant land data that you entered in, which is this right here, and then it also gives you the average, median, simple regression, and then it puts in right down here the comments for each of those properties that you loaded in. It also has some information on the actual calculations, including the regression equation here, or the trend line equation. All right, that's it. Thanks everybody for watching.